Well, hello everyone. It's April 15th. It is tax day unless you live in Los Angeles County, where you actually do get a bit of a reprieve. This is our first time buyer Southern California market housing update. It's not clickbait. One of our clients, I think, actually just scored what I think is probably the best deal that we're going to see this spring. And I'm going to explain to you why. Normally you might think tariffs, interest rates rising, especially for first time home buyer. This is not great timing, but I think you are wrong if you think that. And I'm going to tell you why. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. So if that is you, absolutely reach out to us and we'd love to help you achieve your goal. I've got some data, but I think at the end, and if you stick around for the end, I think I'm going to give you some incredibly practical and tactical advice. If you're a first-time home buyer out there, what I would do if I were in the marketplace right now. So definitely stay tuned to the end. We're going to jump into the slides because I want to talk a little bit about a market that is incredibly uncertain. And let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to explain exactly what I mean and probably more importantly, what it means for you. So if we go ahead and take a look here, if we look at our prices, what are we seeing? I want to give you an overall message. One of the things that I think is fascinating to me is really, if you look at that entry-level home price, just how stable for the most part prices have been over the last year. We've really seen, we're going to talk single digit changes really in price in terms of, where we ended up now versus where we were at, last year from now. And of course, over the course of the year, I think we're going to probably see a pretty strong spring if we get a little bit of certainty here in our market with the tariffs and kind of the interest rates bouncing around. I think that's causing everybody a little bit of grief and a little bit of pause. By the way, grief and a little bit of pause are really an opportunity if you're a buyer. Before we continue, I'm going to share just a little bit of an anecdote. Last week we negotiated a purchase on a house, and I think on any other week of the year, the multiple bids, we would not have won that house. But because of everything that was going on in the market, a little bit of uncertainty, it created a unique opportunity. And I think, our clients are the benefits of that. I think they are, several tens of thousands of dollars below where they would normally otherwise be on what is, really a fantastic house. So we look at our prices, we do see a little bit of recovery on that condo segment. I know some people were thinking that was looking pretty soft. Again, this data is for LA and Orange counties. It represents the first quartile or entry level home pricing. If we look at our total monthly payment, that is still showing us as being down a bit, that $6,500 level for that entry level single family home. Remember, this is based on 5% down, including mortgage insurance taxes. One thing I do want to mention about this is, especially for those of you that are in the jumbo category and those of you fortunate enough to be making bigger down payments, if you are eligible, there are very much still interest rates in the fives available. And I think that's kind of a fact that might not really be known out there. I have several buyers who are locked in the fives right now and locked in the last week. So that is definitely still a possibility for you. If we look at our minimum household income really required, and it's funny, while we track the prices and people wonder how high can prices go and all these things, if we look at the actual affordability in terms of what household income is required here in Southern California, these numbers look a lot more manageable. On that entry-level single-family home, we are looking at around $160,000, and that entry-level condo, $113,000. Now, does this mean all areas? No, this is a composite of LA and Orange counties as a whole. But really, when you think about it, there are opportunities out there for households that have, to be honest, more normal levels of income. If we look at our absorption rate, that shows a little bit of softness here, right? The sellers are still putting their homes in the market, but the buyers are the ones who are taking a little bit of a pause. What does that mean? It means on entry-level homes, we're at a 63% of 14-day absorption rate. That is, pretty much an even market, though I will caution you. What that really means, though, is certain homes will be hot and certain homes will be colder than this. So understand, this is meant as an average indication of the market, not really, it doesn't apply universally to the market. And you see condos are there at 54%. We look at our total inventory that continues to climb. I've talked about this a couple of times before. I don't know if this can be taken at face value. And the reason for that is I don't know how motivated all of the sellers are. We're starting to see kind of a tale of two sellers. I mean, we're seeing homes in the market with 90 days and those price reductions. To me, that says that's a seller who is not necessarily serious about selling their home. They've just put it up there, and there was an agent all too eager to take the listing in order to have something. If we look at our 14 days still active, remember, as this number dives, that means a more competitive market. And we see both for our entry-level condos and our entry-level single-family homes that those numbers have gone up, but they have not gone up really terribly outside the range we've seen over the last 12 months. So, understand these are fairly micro movements that we're seeing in our market. And finally, if we look at our week supply of homes, you can see that our condos are up to 14 and a half weeks. That really looks a lot like what we saw last fall. And we are at 8 weeks for our entry-level single-family home, looking a lot like where we were at in August of last year. Now, I did promise you that I was going to give you some practical and tactical advice if you're a first-time home buyer out there. And one of the things that I think goes on is I think there's a lot of scary things happening economically at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people do not know what end is up. And we talked about this a little bit last week if you watched our video when we were talking about the tariffs. If you have not watched that, I would highly recommend going back and taking a look at that. But the long and the short of it is, I think a lot of the moves we are seeing are likely to cause some longer term inflation. And the question is just how much longer term inflation we're going to see. But in a way, it doesn't really matter because both of those things really bode well for the appreciation of real estate as an asset. And so one strategy that I think some of our clients are pursuing, and I think this is a very good strategy, is they are even going into escrow and asking or looking for longer escrow periods. Now, why would you do that in a market like this? Well, if you think the interest rate market is incredibly volatile, and it is right now, I mean, rates are going up and down in pretty wild swings. One option is that many banks have a float down option. That means if you lock your rate today, there is an opportunity that if rates drop significantly, even while you're still in escrow, you will have an opportunity to take advantage of part of that. And so I think that's a very good strategy. The other thing that our clients are doing is they're not really paying points on the loan. Now, what does that mean? It means they're going to take a higher payment today. But the reason why that's important is because it basically is a bet that at some point in the next maybe 5 years or so, 3 to 5 years, we are going to see an opportunity to refinance to lower rates, right? Where there's that opportunity that you're given. And you don't want to pay points because if you pay points up front, that is money that is gone. You don't get a partial refund for that. It's like buying a cheaper interest rate, but you don't get to use all of it. So those are some things that our clients are doing. And I think it's really setting themselves up for long-term success. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And I mean, realistically, homeownership has always been that way. Now, have there been times when we've had moments of making a lot of money in a short period of time? Of course. And it's wonderful when that happens. But I tell clients, don't make your decisions based on that. Make your decisions really based on sound long-term financial strategy. Anyhow, if you are a first-time home buyer and you'd like to get a home and you'd like to figure out how to make that American dream happen, and you know someone who should be a homeowner here in California, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we will see you again real soon.